Greetings, everyone. My name is Sanjiv Venkatram, and welcome to another edition of User Delight with Microsoft Technology. In this episode, what we're going to do is to develop an end-to-end solution, a complete solution to capture customer service feedback and making a simple presentation out of it. So let's get started. So I'm on my Microsoft 365 Office.com. And this is my starting point. I go to the 9 dots or the waffle. And then over here, I'm basically going to select forms, right? So that's going to be the starting point. So on forms, we go in and configure a new form. So literally click on new form, give it a name, and I'm going to actually say, video, or detailed video of customer service solution, right? Or feedback solution, let us say, to be precise. Or customer feedback solution, honestly. And what we're going to do here is we're going to start with getting the person's email or name. So I'm going to say kindly give us your name. Then I'm going to go ahead and ask them for the feedback, and I'm going to say kindly give us detailed feedback, right? Not just one word, but a sort of a verbose feedback. Then I'm going to say, kindly rate the scores, right? Kindly rate, whatever it is, rate this event, let us say, right? Event, whatever it could be. And this is on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, and you could select, hearts, whatever, right? So this is good enough for us, and you could build out your survey. You could actually have branching, etc., going on. So that is completely up to you as to how you want to design it, right? So this is going to be our input. The output, what we're going to do is literally put it on SharePoint, right? So if I go over to my waffle here, the 9 dots, I select SharePoint, and it goes away and opens up SharePoint. And from there, I'm going to actually select a SharePoint site. So I'm going to select one, and there is my site, SharePoint custom permissions. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and create a new list, right? So I'm going to say new list, blank list, and I'm going to say transaction, customer service, feedback, right? Feedback, there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and create this. And I'm not going to belabor how to create a SharePoint list here. I assume you folks are aware of it. And here, the title column comes in by default. This is where I'm going to capture the person's email. Then I'm going to go ahead and add a column, and I'm going to add a number column, and this is going to be the rating. So I'm going to say rating here, and I'm going to actually save this. And I'm going to add another column, and this is going to be a text column, and I'm going to say next, and this is going to be a multi-line text column, and it's going to be bare text, nothing, like HTML, not enriched or anything, not rich text, sorry. And then here I'm going to basically call it feedback, and I'm going to basically save this. The last column is going to be the keyword that I'm looking for. So I'm going to basically say this is keyword, so we can actually summarize this well for our management, right? So now our database is done, our input is done, our database is done. We need to connect the two together. So if I go to my office.com and I go to the 9 dots, I actually go over to Power Automate, right? And I've already got my Power Automate here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a new Power Automate flow. So I'm going to say create, and this is going to be an automated flow because the moment the feedback is submitted, the flow should start, right, automatically. And hence, it is an automated cloud flow. So I select this. I'm going to call it flow customer service feedback. And then the trigger here, the starting point of the trigger is when a new response is submitted on Microsoft Forms, right? So I'm going to select that as the trigger. I'm going to go create this. I'm going to turn off the new designer, still in love with the old designer. Completely up to you, your preference. And then if I go to the new form here or pick a form here, I can see my feedback from, let me see, what is this form called? The one that we designed. I'm going to go over, and this is called detailed video. So it should be from D. So detailed video of customer service solution, right? So that's going to be my starting point. Now I'm actually going to get details from the response, right? That people actually submit. So I'm going to say get details. And then there you go, of all the actions that are listed here, message details, task details, message, from Microsoft Forms, I can get response details here. So I'm going to actually select this one. Then it's going to again ask me for the form ID. And then this was the detailed form. There you go. And then each of the responses basically when you submit a response using Microsoft Forms comes in as an ID. So I'm going to go click on response ID. And in my dynamic content, which actually points to the dynamic fields, either in the forms or an app or what have you, I'm going to actually select response ID because my starting point is a form. Once I do this, I'm ready now to actually call a AI prompt for me to summarize the verbose feedback. Now, at this point, I need to go create a prompt so that I can consume it in my flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, click on the waffle, and then here, the 9 dots, and then I'm going to go to Power Apps. And on Power Apps, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the AI Hub. Keep in mind the environment that you're actually going to develop the prompt on. It needs to be the same environment in which your flow is. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to pick it up, right? So I'm going to go over to AI Hub here, and then I'm going to go to prompts, and then I'm going to go to build our own prompt. There are different kinds of prompts here. So I'm going to build my own prompt. On the top right here, I'm going to select the input. And then to add an input, I could either use a text or an image, but in this case, I want text. So I'm going to click on text. I'm going to call it CS survey. And then I'm going to basically give it just a name, right? Financial services survey, whatever, financial services. And then that's going to be my prompt. And out here in the designer, if I were to go add it, in my prompt, I have my survey prompt. And for me to kind of test it, I'm going to say top three frontline workers in, and then this has sample data as financial services. So if I were to test this, this goes away and basically it connects to ChatGPT for Omni, and then it brings, so I know that the prompt is actually working, right? And I'm going to call this, detailed CS customer service feedback video prompt. PROMPT, okay? And kindly don't pay attention to the naming. You can name it according to what you deem is necessary. I'm going to basically go ahead and save. In fact, I think it'd be better if we actually add a prefix called prompt and then save it, right? Prompt and then the name of the prompt, right? That'd be ideal because that would be a proper prefix, something like this. I mean, I could basically copy this guy and then say prompt underscore detailed customer service video. This seems more appropriate, so I'm just going to save this like so, okay? So this prompt is done. I'm going to cancel this here, and then you can now actually see my prompt that I can now access in my flow, right? So if I go over to my flow, and in this case, this is where I call the prompt. If I actually say PROMPT, this goes away and says create text with GPT using a prompt. So appropriate. So now I go in, I actually go ahead and select my prompt. So if I say prompt, PROM, and there you go, prompt detailed video. So I'm going to select that. So this goes away, and then, it gives me the ability to now pass the text to summarize, the input, right? And I've done this before, so I'm just gonna copy one. So do I have one here? No, I don't. And I'm gonna say, kindly give me one word, right? One word for, and I'm gonna actually say the detailed feedback, right? And I'm gonna emphasize this and say, kindly note only one word, and do not add any other comments. Okay, do not add any other comments. Okay, so it's a one word summary, and that's about it, right? Now I'm actually ready to go create this in SharePoint. So I'm going to say create item, and then I'm going to go over to SharePoint right there. And then the site address, I'm going to select my site address. I think it's called SharePoint Custom Permissions, and it should be SharePoint Custom Permissions right there. And then if I do the drop down, I should be able to find my list. There is my transaction feedback list, right? So this goes away and opens up the columns. So in the title column, I'm going to basically get the name of the person. Then I'm going to actually go to the rating. Then I'm going to go over to the feedback. And if I say feedback, and if I go scroll down, kindly give us a detailed feedback. And then the keyword I'm going to select. So when the prompt runs, it gives us two things. It gives us the reason and it gives us a text. Now the reason is a binary true or false, right? So what I'm basically going to do is to get the actual output, which is the text, right? I'm basically done insofar as capturing the data into SharePoint right now, right? So I'm done with, how you want to process the output in either Excel or Power BI is a completely different story, but at least this gives me my full solution. So I'm going to go ahead and actually save this. So this basically gets saved, and I'm ready now to test this solution. So I go over to my forms right now. So if I were to bring this down for a second, I'm going to go to my forms. And out here in my forms, I'm going to basically collect responses. And I'm going to say anyone outside the organization can respond. And there is my QR code, right? So let us test this. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to bring my phone here to my computer and double click this. So this should mimic my phone. And there you go. So I have my phone here. So what I'm going to do is use my camera to scan this, right? So I'm going to go select my camera here. There's my camera. And there is my form. So I'm going to go over and say my name is Sanjiv. And I'm going to say detailed feedback. And I'm going to say interesting workshop, lots of great examples of Power Platform, right? And I'm going to rate this, let us say, a 5. And now I'm going to go ahead and submit this, okay? So my response is submitted. I'm going to actually close this now. So the flow now should run. If I were to go to Power Automate and then check this, it's been saved. So if I go over and check this, there you go. It has actually succeeded, right? And then if I head on over to my SharePoint and go to my transaction feedback, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Let me go over to my SharePoint. And then if I go over to my SharePoint, I think this was called custom permissions, not this, maybe the other one, right? Yeah. So if I go to feedback, you can actually see that the flow has run. It has captured the feedback, and it has actually captured the keyword as well. So if I literally now, go to the flow and select this, what's happened now is that, when the form was actually, the person submitted the form, we got the response, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to close this, go to the old view that is more convenient to see. So I get the responses over here, which is going to be essentially a JSON. right? And then kindly give us the feedback. So there's the feedback. What it now does is that it goes to the GPT prompt, and then it goes in, and then, the finish reason is stop, and it's basically gone in and got the one word keyword, and all of that is now entered in to the respective columns. You see the keyword. So I trust this actually gives you an idea of that end-to-end solution, right? Now, over and beyond this, what you could do is that you could put this into Power BI, right? So if I were to go over to my SharePoint list, I'm going to select this, Control C, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Power BI. So I'm going to go over to Power BI like so, and then open up the desktop. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go create a blank report, right? A new report. And I'm going to go to Power Query. I assume you have a background in Power BI, so this is not a detail. This is just a solution overview or solution detail, if you will. It is not a deep down on Power BI. I assume you know how to do Power BI, right? So I'm going to go to New Source. I'm going to go to More. And then here, I'm going to go to Online Services to SharePoint, connect to this, and then I'm going to enter the SharePoint list here, right? And then I'm going to connect to it. It brings up the navigator. It asks me where my list is. And then I'm going to point into the transaction feedback down here. And then I'm going to click on OK. So this goes away and brings me my query, right? So I don't need all these columns. I'm going to basically say choose columns and select only that I need, the title, the rating, the feedback, keyword, and maybe the ID. And I'm going to select that. And I'm basically going to duplicate this, right? I'm going to duplicate this. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call this, right? I'm going to call this master keyword, okay? Master keyword, for lack of a better word. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these two columns. I'm going to remove this, maybe the ID column as well. Remove that as well. Remove it. And then that's all I need. And actually, I'm going to go over to View, Query Settings. I'm going to remove this. I think I do need all columns here. What I'm going to go do is I'm going to select this column, and I'm going to group this column by the keyword and get a count of the rows. So if I click on OK here, it says engaging is 1. The more I have of this, I can actually develop a word cloud from this. That's the whole idea. So we'll do a few of these. So I'm going to go close and apply. So this goes away and brings it to my Power BI from Power Query. Okay, so it is loading it. It takes a minute or so for this to load. So once it actually loads, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the three dots here in visualization, get more visuals, and then I'm going to ask for a word cloud, right? Word cloud. And there is Microsoft's word cloud. It's a Microsoft visual, nothing to be concerned about. And I'm going to add this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and select the word cloud, and then put it right there. And then right next to it, I'm going to add a table as well. So in the table, I'm just going to go get the, let's say, the ID, the feedback, and the rating, so people can see this. And then in my word cloud, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go put the category here, and I'm going to put the count here, right? So it is basically going to give me a count of, distinct count, or just the count maybe, right? Just the count. So I'm done here, and if I want to, I can go ahead. I don't want to use any start words. I don't want to rotate text and so on and so forth. I can beautify this, okay? So I'm done with this. I'm going to basically go ahead and publish this, save this, and I'm going to save it as detailed CS video, CS feedback, feed back video. Okay, and I'm going to save this. So this is done. And then it is going to go away and publish it. I'm going to go to my workspace here, my workspace, and then I'm going to actually like publish it, right? So this goes away and publishes it to the workspace, and it has established a connection to SharePoint and all that. I'm going to go open it in Power BI. So this goes away and opens my Power BI, right? And it opens that very same report. There you go. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go over to my workspace here, and you will notice here that if I say refreshed, it has gotten my detailed video report here. You see that I could further embellish and so on and so forth. We are not going to do that at this point. So all I now need to do is go back to the flow here. Where is my flow? I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go over to my Power Automate flow, and then I'm going to edit this flow. And what I'm now going to do is once this data is actually captured in SharePoint, I'm going to go over and refresh my Power BI. I'm going to say Power BI, refresh the, I'm going to click on Power BI. And if I click on refresh here, I will actually see refresh a data set. Go select my workspace, and there you go, A, B, C, D, my workspace, and then my data set of the detailed video should be right here as well. And see detailed, there you go, detailed video, right? So when a new item is created, it goes away and refreshes the data set. Let's see, the flow checker is just talking about ChatGPT. That's not an issue. So we're going to save this. We are good to go. Let us see now. Let us see this whole thing in action. So we're going to go over to the forms again. And where is my form? And detailed video, there you go. So this is my form. I'm back to going over to my phone. So I'll go to my phone link and then select this guy and then go to my form. And I'm going to go ahead and scan. So I'm going to scan this again. There you go. Scan. And I'm going to again say, and this time I'm going to say Venkatram, which is my last name. And I'm going to say interesting end-to-end exercise in getting customer service feedback, right? And I'm going to select my rating, and I'm going to go ahead and submit this. So this is submitted. So I'm done with this. Now let us head on over to our flow. Let us see what happens in the flow. Refresh this. Succeeded. So it has gone in. It has got the data from the form. It has actually sent it to ChatGPT to get the summary. It has created an item and then refreshed the database. So now if I go over to Power BI, and if I were to click on this report, it should have got 2 lines right now. Well, it doesn't have the second line item. Let us see what happened in the flow, right? So we go to the SharePoint. Let us refresh this SharePoint. Goes away and refreshes it. It basically says survey, right? So it may be a matter of mere refresh here. So let me refresh this. It still doesn't pick it up. What we could do is we could go over to our Power BI and investigate what has happened here. So I'm going to go over to transform data to Power Query, and let me see if it has got the second line item, right? Or it's just got the first line item, which means to say out here, obviously it won't be a refresh because this is my desktop. So if I were to refresh this, it has got these words, and so refresh this guy as well. So it should have that. And if I say close and apply, so now we should basically have both the line items, right? It should have, if I refresh this, and it should have both the line items. There you go. See, it has got both the line items here and survey and engaging and so on. And so the whole idea is, if you have the one word being repeated, like let us say you get 3 or more of these engaging, what your tile actually does is that it goes in and it actually sizes the repeated instance bigger when compared to like the lesser counts, right? So assume tomorrow you had more comments on engaging, so engaging would show up really big, and then the survey would kind of be small because it's not repeated as much. So if I go back to my Power Apps here, and then if I go to this one here that I just did earlier, you will notice here, this is actually on a real survey for a customer. You will actually see it takes a minute or so for this to load. And while it does it, let me actually refresh the screen as well again to see if it has actually captured the output properly. For some reason, we need to get behind the scenes and see why the count is just one and why there is no second count of this. We may have to look at the Power Automate flow. It does seem like it has actually captured it. It has gone through perfectly well. Details, CS video, right, is the data set. And here too, that's the same data set. So if I were to go back to the data set here, refreshed, and then there is the report. Oh, maybe there was, yeah. So, there was an issue, you see, with the model. So it's actually probably this refresh setting that was an issue. Last refresh failed because of some connection issue, you see. So I say edit credentials. I'm going to basically say anonymous. It's not anonymous, it's organizational privacy. If I say sign in, it doesn't, so I need to configure maybe the sign in here, Yeah, I would actually have to configure the sign in. Then it would actually go ahead and refresh this. Okay, so the SharePoint source permissions have been updated. And then if I were to go refresh right now, this should actually work. This should actually work. So we will refresh history. Okay, this should work. What we could do is I could rerun the flow here, right? So I could resubmit. Let us see what happens if I resubmit this. Goes away, runs it, and then all of it is green, and then the flow ran successfully. This ran too. So now if I were to hit the refresh history here, refresh history, so you see this is actually, well, this says failed too, the second one. You see, failed for this model, right? So there is something to do with the connections that I would actually need to go in and look at, right? As to why, my credentials have not gone through okay. Interesting, actually, but let me check something else really quick. If I were to go to the report and look at the report, let me see. Yeah, it has still got the one line item. I think it's got something to do with my permissions. You see, it's actually got some custom permissions on the side. That could be the reason why it's not going through. A little odd, actually, to be honest. So maybe, we need to drill down into Power BI as to why those permissions didn't go through. But I suppose it gives you an idea of, how to build this end to end. And, in the meanwhile, you'll actually have to look into the settings, right? If I go to manage permissions, okay, the report dashboard, interesting. And if I were to look at the settings once again over here, and then go to the refresh, no, semantic model, you see the data source credentials have actually been grayed out. So I'll need to go in and maybe look at this as to why this is causing an issue from a security standpoint. But I trust this gives you an idea. So in the customer example, this is an app in which I have my QR code in the one place and I've got my Power BI tiles. So this gives me the same word cloud and it actually gives me the same verbatim feedback. Okay. So I trust this gives you an idea as to how to develop this end-to-end solution, and kindly go over the video in detail at your time, and then best wishes to developing an end-to-end solution. Thank you very much, folk.